Wine is a fickle mistress. I've been studying Californian wines for more than 25 years and I've still got a lot to learn.
Whereas I've been here for 5 weeks and I think I've cracked it. This is a wine that will change the world.
Not yet, my young apprentice. For a final leg of our journey, we are going to explore the world-famous Napa Valley and sample the finest and most expensive wines of California.
Sold for $400,000.
What? Let me guess, we'll meet some struggling rustics who produce an honest drink with humility and gratitude.
No.
Your posh mates again.
Correct.
For the last 2 weeks, we've been staying in this Napa Valley trailer park, surrounded by banjo players, and exploring the surrounding area. So far, though, we haven't visited any of the wineries in the valley itself. That comes next, and already I'm having uneasy feelings about the place. Oz?
Yeah.
Do you think Napa Valley seems a bit too nice? Suspiciously nice.
Napa Valley?
Yeah.
The real problem with Napa Valley is that it's a sort of high-powered PR machine. It's brilliantly effective at marketing the whole idea of elegance, sophistication, quality and price. And what we really have to be careful of in Napa Valley is being seduced by all this. Everyone is going to charm us, they're going to treat us, they're going to cosset us, and we're going to go away saying, God, Napa Valley is a wonderful place full of wonderful wines and wonderful people, and all they will be doing is saying, yes, exactly. Napa Valley PR has seduced yet another bunch of cynical English guys.
See, I knew he'd put it better than me.
Well, here's some background for you, James. Napa Valley is the self-styled jewel in the crown of Californian winemaking. It gets very hot in the daytime but stays pretty cool at night, which makes for excellent grape-growing conditions. Although the first modern winery was only built back in the 60s, over the past 40 years the wine business has exploded and the money's flooded in. Napa Valley is known as the Vegas of winemaking for its extravagant, sometimes bonkers architecture, and our next winery visit should show James why. Dariush Khaledi fled Iran after the revolution and came to California. He embodies the American dream. Starting with nothing, he made a fortune in the grocery business and used quite a few, of his millions to build this extraordinary winery. His wines sell for $50 upwards and they'd need to pay the cleaning bills. You have to admire the bloke to actually build this astonishing Persian-type place in the middle of a vineyard.
And does he make wine?
He makes a wine called Dariush, which I'm told is really powerful, rich stuff. And what we're going to do today is go and taste some of his Dariush wine to see how good it is. But also, that he started out as a wine collector. So with all his money he was making, he bought enormous amounts of great French wines. So hopefully today, he's going to put some of his stuff out and also some of the great French wines out, and he's going to say, well, which is better? Does that interest you?
Yeah, it does. As well as providing us with some wines to taste, we're also going to try some of the local cheese.
I wasn't as happy about that because cheese flatters wine, but these powerful reds will at least stand up to the stuff.
Sit down and eat some cheese. I'm also sitting next to the boss, so I've got to be quite careful. It all looks a bit swanky to me.
How did you become interested in wine?
From my childhood, when I was going down to my father's cellar, and I couldn't quite reach. It was a big clay vat. I couldn't quite reach the wine, so I dropped the towel, and then I would suck on the towel, and that's how I, at age 6, that was my first encounter with wine. And then, as I mentioned, it was my dream to own the winery, and that happened 10 years ago. And here we are.
This is extremely nice.
Frightfully good or awfully good?
I've had a few already and can no longer focus on Oz's face, so I put a blindfold on. What's happening?
Having heard of my attempts to educate James's palate, Dariush and his friends have set him a challenge. He has 4 red wines to taste. 2 are from Bordeaux, and very expensive, and 2 are local Napa Valley wines, and very expensive also, made from the same Bordeaux grapes, Cabernet and Merlot. Can James distinguish old world vintages from new?
Was right. I think that's a young New World wine. I think that's an old New World wine. That's an old World wine, and that's a new Old World wine.
He did quite well, considering. The first wine in his left hand is the 2002 Dariouche.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh, that tastes really
which is
French.
First one, wrong.
The second wine he got accurate. That's the 2005 Arietta, which is the young but new world.
Well done.
The third one is the 1989 Margaux, which is an old world, older wine.
Wrong again.
And then the fourth was the 1986 Cheval Blanc.
Sorry, James.
Can I take the blindfold off yet?
Yeah.
Can I? His wines taste very nice. I like all his artifacts, and I wouldn't do my house like this, but it's good. It's a sort of magical kingdom. It's like a little theme park.
Hardly surprisingly, this winery is also a tourist must-see. In fact, Napa Valley is the second biggest visitor attraction in California after Disneyland.
And that is a Californian tourism wine fact. To have a look around, we're leaving the bus and the film crew behind. The Mustang is a lot more Napa. Oz and James Productions proudly presents Wine Cam, the movie.
This dry weather does certainly dry your lips out. Don't you ever put lip stuff on?
Like a sound you hear that lingers in your ear, but you can't forget from sundown to sunset.
We shall make a short film about modern Californian winery architecture presented by TV's Oz Clarke.
Now, this is Quintessa. Now, Quintessa is a shut up, what are you doing?
I've only got half of it. I'll start on the turret of the castle, zoom out. Hang on, let's work this out. You need to be sort of, in the middle of the road. Stop.
This is a spectacular piece of architecture. Now, this is Opus 1, and Opus 1 is one of those, it's a joint venture between the Rothschild family of Bordeaux in France, who makes some of the top wines in Bordeaux, and Robert Mondavi, who is the great innovator, the great PR expert, the great promoter, the great flag waver for Napa Valley wines.
Right, if you point the camera, I don't know if this will work, but it's the sort of thing that the real cameraman would do. If you hold it steady against the door, just sort of frame it up on the building.
Can't see anything. Can I stop doing this? I'm actually getting a crick in the neck, okay? Okay, that's the end of that.
Press the little button thing.
How?
Yeah,
Where?
That one that stopped.
In return for doing all the driving, I'm treating James to lunch at a renowned Napa restaurant. At one time, I might have worried about taking James here, but he's brushed up rather well. That's a very smart suit. Oh, what's this? James,
What?
you're carrying a hairbrush
I
with
always
you.
carry a
That is
hairbrush.
obscene.
Well, that's-
you,
that's-
a bloke who presents a motoring programme, carries a hairbrush. That's pathetic.
Well, I've got bad hair.
Good morning.
Morning.
Or afternoon, which is it? I can't remember.
But no, she's a nice lady.
The Auberge du Soleil is known for its stunning views, mouth-watering menu and eye-watering wine list.
Bloody Dora. Is this how much of a treat is this?
Good God. What? Hey, look what it is, though.
Well, I don't care.
It's French, and it's 1945.
I could buy 2 motorcycles for that. Look at it.
The list has wine from every area of California, so I want James to put his new wine knowledge to good use and choose the wine for us.
How much of your money can I spend?
You can spend...
You haven't brought your wallet, have you?
I've forgotten my wallet.
You big clot. So this is my treat now then, because I remembered mine. Right.
It's yours.
I have got mine, yes.
Well.
Such a pillock. I'd like a Chardonnay, unoaked or only very lightly oaked. I'd like it to have matured for at least 3 years in the bottle, and I would like it from either the Russian River Valley or I would like it from the Sonoma Mountains. I eventually choose us a Sonoma County Chardonnay and discover another way to impress Oz.
It's really swirly. I'm only looking to see if it's off, aren't I? And it isn't, and it's delicious. Yes, please.
But it shows a certain amount of confidence to actually just smell the wine and say, Because actually the smart way to taste wine is just to smell it and say, that's fine. James's wine goes very well with our lunch menu, which features dayboat, scallops and California's rarest tomatoes, none of which comes cheap.
You know, you said you were bringing me out for a treat. How much does it cost me, man with no wallet, so far?
The wine alone, as far as I can make out, is something like $270 so far.
All the low tricks.
Of all the low tricks that a man can pull upon his supposed friend, coming out without the wallet.
Luckily for me, the auberge agrees to foot the bill, provided we never come back.
I'm starting to worry that James is getting far too fond of the high life. So, I've arranged a dawn visit to one of my favourite winemakers. This should get James's feet firmly back in the mud. If you know where to look, you can find an alternative face in Napa. John Williams of Frog's Leap is a real populist and one of the few local winemakers who make affordable wine. His grapes are all grown organically, and this morning James is going back to wine basics to help with the harvest.
Why exactly did we have to be here at 6 o'clock?
Because the grapes are much colder at this time of the morning. If you feel the grapes now, they're ice cold. And if you feel the grapes in 5 hours' time, they're hot. The juice is hot. Now, when you get the grapes into the winery, you want cold grapes because you keep all the aromatic flavours inside the grapes. If you let them all get hot, all the aroma goes up into the air. You never see it again. You get flat flavoured wines. And that's a wine fact.
Morning, gentlemen. I think we're a little late already, aren't we?
No, we're not.
Come on, we got work to do. James,
Morning.
here's your knife.
The picking team have to pack a day's harvest into 3 or 4 hours, so they've got to work fast.
Starts to rile up, that's the time a fellow needs a sword.
Martine, can you have James help you pick just a little bit? All right, will you show him how? Yeah.
So just...
Just like that, James.
Just like that. Okay, so let me just try one. I know everybody at home thinks I'm being an incompetent pillock here, but it's not as easy as it looks.
The fact is, I'm just too much of a gringo to pick grapes. In any case, it's 8 o'clock and time for breakfast.
Let's start with Sauvignon. Of course, I think the wine Frog's Leap may be most famous for, right?
I think it is. That's the first one I saw in England.
We've been making Sauvignon Blanc since 1981, so this is what we do. We've done it for years and years and years.
How much does it cost?
In England, I wouldn't have an idea, but here it's about $15 a bottle or so.
Really?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Very good. Recommended, reasonably priced,
Yeah, right. I
Californian,
like that.
unoaked, spicy, sharp, appley flavoured.
I think fruit in white wines is overrated. I really like more minerality, or I think fruit in red wines is underrated. Let's try the Zinfandel. Maybe we can bring that to the table. But
This is my favourite grape.
yeah, so this is the 05 Zinfandel.
Can you get this in England?
Yeah, very very easily. Yeah.
Expensive?
Not extraordinarily so. I mean, here it's a $20 bottle of wine. So
Yeah, that's okay.
Fair enough.
Does this taste better because you've done it in organic?
You think about organic, you think about kind of the chemistry of organics. I don't know about that, but in terms of the intent of organic, about building a living, healthy system, I think you can taste that in this wine. Everything that came into this glass came from the soil, came from the place that it was grown. Every single molecule in here came from the soil, not from a drip tube, not from an irrigation sprinkler, not from a bag of fertilizer, nothing but from what came from the soil itself. Will that make the wine taste different, better, more representative of the place? You have to think so, or I have to think so.
Merlot. John is an exception in these parts, a man of the people who wants to make wine that people can afford to drink. Is that asking too much? But others strive for exclusivity and perfection, which tycoons pay through the nose for. These wines are known as cult wines, bought as an investment or as a trophy, and one of the most sought after is a Cabernet Sauvignon from this vineyard, the Harlan Estate, run by multimillionaire Bill Harlan, the Zeus of Napa Valley, and this is his Mount Olympus.
That is, of all the vineyards I've seen, and I have seen quite a few now, thanks to Oz and his relentless quest for my advancement, I think that has the greatest topographical variety of any that I've seen. Is that the correct way of putting it?
That's a pretty good way of putting it,
So
yeah.
it faces every possible direction. It obviously has several different soils. It's got some steep bits, some relatively flat bits, and there was something else I thought of just now that I've forgotten.
The goal is to produce the very best wine we can that expresses the character of this land. And then hopefully we'll make a wine that can be in the company of the great wines that have been around for many, many generations or centuries. We know that we can't do it in 1 or 2 generations. It'll take a long, long time, but we've got to start somewhere. This is really land for Cabernet.
Bill is kindly laying on supper for us, and to encourage his chef to get on with it, I decide to play Scott Joplin's Maple Leaf Rag non-stop until it's ready.
A refined touch from our classically trained harpsichordist. Although in the rarefied world of wine music matching, I'm not quite sure I'd have married Maple Leaf Rag with one of America's most celebrated Cabernets.
How much is this wine? Well, we find out when Bill's business partner Don joins us for a drink.
This is a duplicate of the version that sold for $400,000
What?
at the wine auction 2 years ago.
For how much? $400,000.
$400,000.
May I lift it?
Sure.
It's very nicely made. Wow, look at that, Oz.
One way of guaranteeing your wine will command a high price is to win a top mark from the supreme American wine critic, Robert Parker. He rates wines out of 100, and his verdict can make or break a vineyard. Harlan Estate has a stellar reputation, but even I'm impressed when Don revealed the score that Parker gave their wine.
Both the wines you're tasting received perfect scores.
Both these wines received 100 points.
Correct.
I've drunk quite a lot of wine, and I've never actually had 2 glasses in front of me like this, both of them with a supposedly perfect score. Not ever.
Puts a lot of pressure on a guy, doesn't it?
Puts a lot of pressure on me to enjoy it properly. I mean,
Well,
how do you enjoy a wine which you've already someone else has told you is perfect?
Well, everyone's got their own opinion on these things, you know.
Shall I try it as the amateur?
Yeah.
Now?
Why don't you try and score it, James?
Okay, so this is a 2002.
2002.
Okay, so I've done my swirly bit. Cheers.
Now, what's he going to come up with?
Bloody Nora. It's quite good, isn't it?
I kept thinking, are there smells of herbs coming through the window? And they're not. They're actually in the glass, because as soon as you go away, you suddenly realise there's quite a strong smell of cured meat, grilled cured meat in the room. But as soon as you actually put your nose in the glass, you can't smell the meat anymore at all. And that's quite rare. On the whole, a quite strong smell from the kitchen will get into the glass and sit on the wine. This one, the wine seems to have rebuffed it. And you've just got the wine in there. I think, ideally in life, I prefer a bit of imperfection. I think if you've been told that something is perfect, technically then you should be able to say exactly how it's going to develop. And technically, if it's perfect, it's given you all the answers.
I'm guessing it's just a hunch that this is not an accessible, affordable high street wine.
On a really good wine list, it might list for $800 to $1,200. If you could find it from a private collector, he might be willing to part with it for $800 to $1,000.
For a bottle?
Yes.
That's too expensive to spit. I'll have to drink it to save money.
If I hadn't been told that that was a very small volume, very exclusive, very expensive wine, I'd have still thought it was a very good one. And I think actually I could have guessed it was an American one. It's fruity and big, and quite complex, and doesn't have those sort of complicated tannin and sharpness things that the French go in for. So I'm fairly confident I would have picked that one out as an American wine. And it is extremely, extremely velvety and lovely and sort of druggy, almost.
James has lost his wine innocence. All that braggart, devil-may-care, rude, drunken enthusiasm. Where is it?
We're all wine ponces at heart. It just needs to be released from within you by a few glasses of very nice, fruity, slightly woody, possibly slightly smoky Californian Cabernet or Syrah wines from a west-facing vineyard, ideally on a slope with a bit of limestone in the soil.
What have I done? And with that, our Napa seduction is complete.
But there's nothing like a night on the bus to bring a wine ponce back to earth. Oz might think it's just him and me hanging out this morning, but I've invited a special guest to join us. No, that's not boiling.
What are you doing now?
I've arranged for Suhua from the Newton Vineyard to drop in. We've already experienced the rough side of her tongue.
Cute English guys of your age behaving like teenage kids is ridiculous.
She's just the stern taskmistress I need on my side for the plan I've hatched.
Good God! What a pigsty!
Who's it?
Is it for human beings?
You don't know what all this is about, do you? So when we went to see Suhua the other day, I said to her, can you arrange a small competition for us to establish who is the wine ponce of the century between you and me? And that is why she's here, because she's come with some wines to taste and some rules and a small competition, and we will decide the winner. Ladies and gentlemen, we present from the Grotty Trailer Park the World Wine Ponce Championship.
Alright guys, what you guys have to do is this. Start off by simply saying, what varietal?
Easy. I think it's a Chardonnay.
Well, James?
I think it's a Chardonnay, but it seems too obvious. But I'm going to go for Chardonnay anyway.
Okay, you're both right. Which area in California is the vineyard?
Sonoma Coast.
Monterey.
Well done, Oz. Monterey.
Ah, good.
Early days. The next round will be a cinch. Come up with a wine ponce description for the back label of the wine.
So we start off with you, James.
Our wines exhibit certain fruity low notes and a bright acidic finish on the palate,
The height of the vineyards cools the grapes,
making them suitable to combine with seafood.
and the slope away from the morning sun means slope away from the evening sun. Sorry about that.
Lighter roast chicken dishes.
They don't use chemicals, they don't use pesticides, they don't use herbicides.
And salads featuring nuts and blue cheese. Enjoy! Exclamation mark.
Because you have come a long way, and boring as your back label sounds, I'm going to give you a point. And so as a result of it, it's now 2-all. You are going to
A
have
lucky fluke, James. So, to the decider.
Indeed, for the World Wine Ponce Championship, we've got 1 minute to relate everything we know about Californian wine.
and you start.
California is not only a wine state, it's almost a wine country.
Compared with the old world, California has certain advantages. A very predictable climate, very consistent terrain, and a very modern outlook to the business of winemaking.
What else happens in California?
Which is unencumbered with some of France's, for example, ideas about terroir, region, and a sense of place. However, with a little bit of learning, it is possible to buy intelligently a Californian wine from a supermarket or a local off-sales.
How long have I got? I've used about 45 seconds already.
It relies on a very basic understanding of the regions and some of the climatic conditions that prevail in California.
We have literally 5 seconds left.
Chardonnay is Excellent.
Well, sadly to tell you, your time's up.
I think I need to rehearse that.
You
I need
could
to write it
rehearse
down.
all night, TV's Oz Clark. You'll never catch me.
No,
for you.
sorry. He did well, so why don't we congratulate him?
I'm in gracious in defeat. Thank goodness I was as bad as I was, because it now means that you are the world champion wine Ponce, and I am delighted that you have won this title.
What a World Wine Ponce champion needs is a world-class Ponce wine cellar, so I'm taking back some souvenirs. Right, what we have here is a record in wine of the whole 5-week adventure. These are the 12 wines that I think were the best, a case, if you like, which we can call James's California collection. I've paid for them all myself, I'm taking them home. From the left, they are Davy Crockett's White Riesling, I know, very tasty. This is a Pinot Noir from the Hitching Post, which is the restaurant where Oz ruined the dinner by bringing some other people. This is, what's his name? Jim No Barber Glendennis from Santa Barbara. That's his Chardonnay. This is Rootin' Tootin' Justin up in the hills. Gary Big Breakfast Eberly, the man with the lake in his back garden, his excellent Syrahs. That's a 2004, that's from Paso Robles. This is the Frenchman, nice Stefan. Calera is non-joshing Josh Jensen. This is $2 Chuck. It's not the most exciting wine in the world, but it only costs £1. Kent Rosenkrantz, who was the saviour of old Zinfandel vineyards. This is the original American wine, the one that survived Prohibition. Can't remember anything at all about this one, apart from that it was from Benziger and that it must have been nice, which is why I bought it. Frog's Leap Sauvignon, the best Sauvignon Blanc we found in California. And finally, this rather unusual and frankly rather expensive at about £40 or £50, Orion. It's absolutely fabulous, and the man who makes it is an astronomer, a mystic and a nutcase. After packing up my wine collection, we've just time for a once-over of the bus, which has come out of it completely unscathed. Right, for the record, and in case this turns into some sort of insurance quarrel, we'll just have a quick review of the Winnebago and some of the things that have been done to it. There's a small scratch down here, and this panel here has got a bit of a dent in it, where it was reversed into a petrol station. I did that. It's been a good bus.
It's been a good bus. And you've been a fine driver.
Thank you. You were a great navigator. I arrived in California wanting to find you, the viewer, an accessible high street wine for under a tenner. By the end of the trip, I ended up spending £50 of my own money on a single bottle. I'm ashamed to say that a West Coast wine holiday with TV's Oz Clark has turned me into a new world wine enthusiast and a shocking wine Ponce. So I'm sorry, viewers, I've let you down.
Yes, James, you've been an absolute disgrace.
So where should we go next?
What about New Zealand?
Or even the British Isles?
It's not a bad idea.
Not just wine, beer, cider, Guinness, mead,
Gin.
I'm stopping that now. And this officially is the end of Oz and James's thinly disguised drinking holiday.
Give us a kiss.
Thank you for watching. Goodbye. I'm going to turn the camera off and murder Oz Clark. If you'd like to know more about wine, visit bbc.co.uk/food or an off licence.
King of the road, third boxcar, midnight train.
Trifling with your affections, next on BBC Two, the one and only Heston Blumenthal does puddings, and also custard. What makes it creamy, and why is mine always full of lumps? He's bound to have the answer.
I have found short but not too big.